Hello and welcome to Your Way. So things have been changing a little bit around here while I've been off over the summer. And I thought that episode 1 of the new named podcast was the perfect time to talk about why and to share a little bit of what I have been up to over the last few weeks. So one of the big shifts that I've had as the year has gone on, and you've probably noticed it as the podcast has progressed, has been to recognize and acknowledge that I've got all of these tools and skills around the nervous system, around trauma resolution, around being in our bodies. But seeing that I want those tools and those skills to be an aspect of what I do rather than being the sole focus. And I think this happens a lot of the time. Like, we learn a new thing, we want to talk about the new thing, and then as we integrate and develop and understand it more, that new thing then just becomes part of our offering and what we do, when it's a true embodiment of us rather than kind of a regurgitation of here's what I've learned. And so that really has been the shift that I've been going through this year, and this recognition of I love having those tools, and actually I want those tools to be part of a bigger offering that I bring to the world. And when I think about my gifts and what I want to share and what I want to do, the resounding thing that comes through from either the changes or the work that I've done, and also the work that I've been doing with my client, particularly over the last kind of 15, 18 months, is allowing people to get really clear on who they are, what they need, what they want, and how they want to go about life, work, business, relationships in a way that works for them, right? It doesn't really matter where you've come from or what you're doing. We all get given these rule books and these molds for how we think we're supposed to do things, whether that be how we're supposed to look or how we're supposed to be in relationship, how we're supposed to do friendships, how we're supposed to run businesses, how we're supposed to be at work, how we're supposed to parent. And it can be really, really hard to have that sense of self-trust, that sense of identity, that sense of, well, this is how a lot of other people are doing it, but how do I want to do it? What is my way? What actually feels good for me? And I recognize that one of my real strengths is giving people that space to explore that without me trying to impose my way on them. And I think this is especially important in the context of the kind of the self-development space, because there's so much emphasis out there on follow this strategy or follow these principles, or here's my formula and you follow my formula and you get this result. Well, that person who came up with the formula might work for them to give them the result that they want, but so often it doesn't work for people in the group because, surprise, surprise, they are their own individual, unique person. And so I'm really leaning into and allowing what I've recognized is a strength of mine, to allow people to explore how they want to do it their way. And something big is coming in terms of kind of programs and offerings around you being in a space, in a container that will give you what you need to do the same. So that is what is coming down the pipeline. That is a kind of a short summary of why this shift. So when you work with me, you can still expect that combination of mindset work, of embodiment, like somatic work, of looking at the younger parts of us. So like I use a modality called internal family systems. A lot of people will think of it as like inner child work. So that will all play a part as and when it's relevant. But the focus really is getting you to a place where you feel comfortable to show up as you are, doing what you want in the world rather than doing what you think you should, for whatever reason, right? It might just be that you have spent your whole life trying to keep your parents happy, or it might be that you're a coach and you've been in a coaching container where it's like the only way you can be successful in business is if you do all of these different pieces, and you're kind of floundering because you're like, yeah, those pieces don't feel good for me. So therefore, ergo, the rules mean that I'm going to fail. And it's not true. You just have to find your thing. So keep tuned, whatever I'm trying to say, on these episodes, because I'm going to be bringing you so much goodness to help you really dive into those big questions of what it is you want, how you can do it, and do it in a way that feels good for you, because that's the whole point. And that's not to say that you're going to feel good all the time, because spoiler alert, that's not reality. But that's kind of the direction of travel. And so in the context of doing things my way, you'll have noticed that I've been absent for a few weeks. And I've been absent for a few weeks very, very intentionally. But what I didn't expect was all of the stuff that came up for me in taking this time. So my husband, Nat, decided to basically work massively reduced hours in August. He was like, I just want August off. So he had lots of things going on and different pieces. And I looked at my schedule and I was like, well, actually, I could probably take a few extra days off as well. I'd worked really, really hard for the past few months. So there's been lots of changes going on. I've like launched new groups, like things have been busy. And I thought, well, actually, I also could do with probably a few weeks of just taking it easy, of having a little bit of an evaluation of like, how do things feel in business? How do things feel in life? What do I want? And I recognize, because I've been doing this long enough now, that we often need to take that step back to have a realistic look at, okay, well, what's really going on here? How are things? And what do I want to change? Because when we're in it, just driving day to day to day, we often don't take that time. I didn't expect to see quite so much of what I did. So I talk a really good talk, right, about taking care of myself, about resting, about stopping, about slowing down. And what I realized in the last 4 weeks is I don't always do that as well as I think, because there's still all of these drivers in me that want me to push, that want me to keep going, that don't want me to be still, and that don't want me to rest. So I do very intentionally stop and take a nap most days. But I also will fill up all of the time around that with stuff. I very rarely, was talking to my coach about this a couple of months ago, the last time that I sat down and read a book, like I couldn't remember when that was. And part of that is probably because of the amount of reading you have to do in law, but also part of it was just because I was on this constant push, go, go, go treadmill, essentially. And so that's actually been quite confronting for me this last month of like, okay, well, so I stepped off the like corporate law treadmill and I've been helping people like with their burnout and to take care of themselves and all of these different pieces. But I can see where there's still areas where I'm just being a little bit hypocritical. And what I recognize is those parts of us, that push pull, the drive to rest, the drive to go, is always going to be a part of me. There's always going to be that part of me that's like, yeah, you aren't really valuable or worth anything if you aren't pushing. And so I'm always going to be juggling these different parts. And so what I've really learned in the last month is the power of slowing down, the power of pushing less. I haven't finished it, but I'm about a third of the way through When the Crawdads Sing, which is a fiction book. And I'm just sitting and reading, like for the pleasure of just reading. It's also very easy to just read personal development books or just read things that are going to take us forward. And I've really been playing around with, okay, well, what does fun look like for me? Because again, really confronting, I was like, I don't really know how to answer that question. And lots of my clients don't really know how to answer that question either. Of like, well, I've got this time. What is fun? So I have been doing lots of fun things actually, and it turns out one of the things that I love is outdoor swimming. And I always knew I loved swimming in the sea, but there is a group of ladies in the village that there's a couple of lakes near here that are set up for like wild swimming. So I've done a little bit of that, not loads. I have swam twice in a lake and absolutely loved it. We have gone out for more meals, but really for me, the practice has been in slowing down. So I joined a new program in April, and the program is run by a lady in Australia. And so I join calls quite early in the morning for me. So I will often be on it. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I have a call that starts at either 7 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. Which has meant that I've got out of some of my practices. So one of the things that I was doing the first 4 months of this year was just taking time each morning to meditate. And that stopped. And so again, something that I have come back to in the last month is that meditation practice, is that reconnecting to myself, reconnecting to nature, because I'll go on a long walk, but sometimes on those long walks, I was basically like this the whole time, thank God. And not really focusing on the nature. And so again, just this recognition, this confrontation of, okay, so I've been pushing. How do I need to do this differently? What is being asked of me to do this differently so that I'm doing it my way? And the answer is shorter walks, intentionally slowing down and enjoying the walks, making sure that some of my walks I do on my own and not with the dog, because she's lovely, but she's very interested in all of the nature around. So whether she's on or off the lead, it's a little bit challenging. And it's really, again, just coming back to myself. So as I'm talking through this, I want to invite you to start doing your own life and business audit, and just to be really onto yourself. What are the things that you are doing that don't feel good, that you're doing because you think you should? Where are you pushing more than you need to? Where are you not paying attention to what you need? And then the deeper question of, what is driving all of that stuff? What are the sneaky little thoughts or the patterns that keep you in these cycles that don't end up taking you anywhere where you want to go? So just something for you to mull over as you're kind of thinking about, we're going into autumn now. So I'm recording this on the 30th of August. I think it will come out the first week of September. So we're into like the final 4 months of the year. And it's really for you thinking about, okay, so how have I spent my year so far? What have the first 8 months looked like? What do I want from the last 4 months? And how do you want to do it your way? Right, so there'll be loads more on this, loads more your way themes coming, but that's just a little bit of a why we've had the shift, what I've been doing over the summer, and also just the reality of, like, we all carry our patterns around, and we all have to be honest with ourselves and look at the pattern. And you work through one layer of the pattern, and then the next layer comes up, and then the next layer comes up, and then the next layer comes up. And I think it's really, really important that we normalize that, so that we aren't shaming ourselves when it's like, well, I thought I dealt with this already. It's like, no, this, the deeper we go, the sneakier and more covert ways the patterns show up. But they keep showing up because we need to resolve them deeper, deeper, and deeper. And most of us have got decades and decades and decades of conditioning to work through. And so those patterns are not going to resolve themselves in 5 minutes or 6 months or even 6 years. We just keep working on them. So I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I know that it was a little bit of a mishmash. I've missed you. I would love to hear how this has landed. And if there's any topics or anything that you feel that you would like me to cover in the theme of doing life, work, business, relationships, all of it your way, just reach out and let me know. All right, take care, and I will see you very soon.